Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Shadow from SG TCG, bringing you the last round of locals at Top Cut. I ended up facing another Enel in the finals. Um, I think I won the dice roll and I chose to go second. So he ended up opening turn first, just one Don and passes. So my turn, I draw. I obviously have stage, so I play it out right away. Draw my two Don. And then I do the search and I truck the Niji to search the top three. I think I grabbed the Ichiji, which is probably the most ideal thing. It was honestly I should have did the Sanji first for the Don minus ability to draw both of those cards or two of them. But I end up going with the Reiju for the purpose of draw. So I'd be able to cycle more. But I end up doing the Sanji next. Sanji ability, so draw one and then I draw off leader, and I ended up drawing into one of the Ichijis, which is great. Now I just need the little 4 cost, but that's turn. I end up passing to him. So next turn I am able to chuck that Ichiji for another search. Swung 8 with his leader. I end up taking it. And then he passes turn. I am now at 3 Don. Um, Again, this is where the best play would be to chuck the stage or tap stage, chuck Ichiji, look at top 3, and then we're obviously going to grab the 4 drop Power Ranger Ichiji. So that next turn we'd be able to go ahead and play it out. That's the only drawback to the Sanjis. I am able to draw 2 cards on my first turn, but now I'm not able to go out and do that play of playing out Ichiji on my second turn. So other than that, I end up swinging 5 with leader. 5 with the leader. I believe he takes it. Again, Enel usually just takes a lot of the early swings to see what they can trigger. But he ends up not getting a trigger. I tap the 2, play out the chopper, and since we have equal Don, I am able to ramp one of those Don back. But looks like I'm considering the Reiju instead. Yep. So I do the Reiju play. To play out the Reiju from trash, since I am at exactly 5, I am able to draw 2 and then 1 off leader, which is building hand. The chopper would not have been a bad move because again I could have ramped, and then next turn I would have been at 6 Don compared to now next turn I will be at 4. But now I gave myself more options. I'm gonna go to 4 and then I could play that Porsche that I ended up just drawing into, which could play out the Ichiji. But the only drawback is now I am low on Don. So he's on 5 Don turn. A usual play for a Nell player is the Gadatsu turn, but I ended up taking a life, and now Gadatsu can't pop Reiju since she's a 4 cost and I have 3 life. So I'm out of Rage of Gadatsu. So he ends up attaching all Don to his leader and swinging for 10. I take that. I'm not about to dump my entire hand to try to get out of it. So I'm just going to continue to get the cards from my life. So pass his turn. Um, the best thing to probably do is play out the Porsche and get out that 4 cost. But we start off with a 5k swing with Reiju to see if he's gonna chuck counter, but he ends up taking the life. And he triggers a Shirahoshi, which allows him to draw 3 cards, and then he has to discard 2, so he kind of gets to cycle out his hand if he has any bricks, and potentially get into better plays or some counter cards if needed. So he chucks a Raigo, and Raigo in this matchup isn't bad if I get to judge. But the way I'm playing with all the Don minusing I'm doing, I wouldn't get to judge at any point, anytime soon at least. So he'd have time to find another Raigo by that point. And he's contemplating on the second card, the Chuck, right now. And he chucks out the Space Luffy. So I tap stage, chuck the Reiju, and searching, and I grab the Niji. Um, wasn't worth grabbing the stage, and then obviously the chopper is not searchable off the stage since it could only be Germa. So I swing for 6 at lead. Here gives me a 2K, I believe. Yep, gives me a 2K with the Veggie. I play out the Porsche, search top 5 for Foxy Pirates. And I end up finding Porsche, which is the good thing is that she's able to search herself. So not bad. If I would have did the Porsche first, I could have grabbed that chopper, which would have allowed me to have counter. But at least now next turn we can set up for another Porsche play if needed. So I play out Ichiji off Porsche, Don minus to get the bigger Ichiji onto the field, and I swing 7 at lead. So now if he wants to counter this, he needs 2 cards out of hand, either 2 2Ks or 2 and a 1, or 3 1Ks, but he takes a life. No trigger, so now he's at 1 life. But at this point, he's at 7 Don, which he could play as Rushanel. But we're in a decent spot. We have 3 bodies on board, which is 3 swings. With leader, it's 4. And we can start putting that pressure on Enel. The only thing is I only have 4 Don going into next turn, which is not that much. Ideally, in other matchups, at this point, I'm swinging 7 with, multiple bodies in the same turn. So he swings 7 to Reiju. I have enough cards to counter out of this, so I believe I do to try to save it, so I can put pressure on next turn. So I counter for 3, 2 with the Sanji and 1 with the Niji. And then he taps 5, and he plays the Space Luffy. Space Luffy is able to trigger. He pops the Porsche, and he draws a card. So he basically fills the hand back up and clears a body, which is not great. But at least we saved the Reiju to be able to swing 3 times this turn. So I have 2 Porsches in the hand at the moment, which is not ideal. I think I chuck a Porsche to search the top 3 to find a different Germa card. Oh, no. Looks like I'm going to do a Porsche play right off rip. So we swing with 5 with the Reiju. At this point, this is where Enel starts to counter out of hand. That way we don't get him down to that last life. So he counters out with 1 with that Space Luffy. We swing 6 with leader. Here he decides if he wants to chuck a 2K. Next hit, if he counters out with a 2K with my leader swing, ideally it's not the move to swing with the Ichiji next swing, because he will take it because he knows that the life is gonna stick with his leader ability. So there's really no worry in taking that life. So I play the Porsche out, Don minus again, search top 5 for Foxy Pirates. Oh, and I was supposed to draw off leader. So drew from Porsche. I whiffed the Porsche. And then I play out a Reiju. I think the best target. Oh no, Chopper. So Chopper ramps that Don back that I lost from the Don minus off Porsche. And so next turn, I finally get to go up to 6 Don. So I passed the turn, like I was saying. It's not worth swinging with Ichiji. He'll take it. He'll have to trash a card from hand and then adds a life, but he's really not losing anything since he's gaining that card from his life to his hand. And we don't know what it could be. It could be a 0-cost event that triggers, 2 heals since it is the last life, or, a Raigo or a Space Luffy, and he's able to pop my board. So it's best to just not swing at that moment. So here he's at 9 Don. We all know this is basically Yamato play for an Enel if he has it. boring. Peanut's got us in suspense waiting for his move. Asked to look at trash. He's trying to figure out how many Porsches I've used and or how many 2Ks I have in the trash. I end up just leaving the trash at the front so you can look at it. He swings for 5 at the reiju. So again, he's setting up basically a Yamato play right now. I counter for 1 to keep the reiju, since I know a body on the board is gonna leave right now. Plays the Yamato. He could hit the Porsche since we are at exactly 3 life. So that's another Porsche down. Porsche has not been able to swing once this game. So now Enel's doing Enel things. Got back up to 2 life. Now I'm finally at 6 Dawn in this game. And I have another Porsche to play, which is good because then I could play Porsche to a reiju, and it allows me to draw 2 because I think I would lose 2 cards in hand and get me in range for reiju ability. And it gets that 1 cost Sanji off the field with another attacker that I could use the next turn. So I end up preemptively taking out that Sanji for some reason, because I'm already thinking ahead. But I play the Sanji 6 cost out for 3 since I'm more than 2 Dawn under him. I play out the reiju, and since I'm at 5 cards, I Dawn minus with the reiju and bring out the reiju from trash, and it allows me to draw 3 cards, 2 off the reiju, and then 1 off the leader ability. And this gives me more of a chance to try to find something better to use. And I end up drawing into 2 Sanjis, which is not ideal. I was hoping to get into like an Ichiji, but I still have leader search. Not leader search, stage search. But I also need to start putting pressure on. So I chucked the Porsche to search the top 3. I grabbed the Ichiji, which is exactly what I was looking for. But I need to find another big Ichiji, which is what I am missing for what I need to do for my play. So I swing 5 with reiju, 2 life. He takes it. He's considering how many swings I'm gonna have this turn, which is just gonna be 3 since I just played out the reiju and the Sanji. Triggers out of Frankie since that is his second life and he is down to 1. He's able to play out the Frankie body and draw a card, which is great. It basically, replaces itself in the hand and you get a body on board, which is nuts. Such a good card, even in Vegapunk. Here I'm thinking about swinging with lead, but I end up passing the turn instead. I could have put pressure. I should have put pressure. Swung with leader for at least 6 to get either a 2K out of hand, and then if he countered out of that, or if he took that life, I would have swung with the Ichiji for 7, because then he's gonna give me 2 cards to block out of that 7K swing. But now he's got three swings that he could do. He's now at 10 Dawn, which now if he has Ace, he is able to play out Ace, heal life, and has Rush. So he swings 5 at the reiju. I give him the Niji for a 1K counter. And then he swings 5 again. And I give him the Sanji for 1K. Here again, he still has a 9K swing, and he still has all 10 Dawn. So we know either a Yamato's about to come out or the 10 cost Ace. So he swings 9 at the reiju. I give him the chopper blocker. And here he plays out 8 to play out Katakuri. Puts the Frankie back into life. Because again, since it is the second card in his life, when he takes that life, he will draw a card and play out that body. which is great. And then he uses his last 2 Don to play out a Shirahoshi and then passes the turn. I am now at 7 Don. I have 4 swings on the board, 5 with leader. Ideally, I don't want to swing with the Sanji though, since that is my only blocker. So I swing 5 at life to see if he's gonna take it, just to trigger off the body and draw the card. And he's thinking about it. And I think this is the turn where I have one of my one of the big misplays of the game that I've done. But I tap forward, putting him. This puts him in a better spot for me, since now he basically lost his entire hand, which I think he was at least 8 to 9 cards. So he lost 4 cards off the pudding, which is great for me. Who knows what he had in his hand, and he probably lost a lot of 2Ks. But I think I asked him at the end of the game, and he ended up drawing into a lot more counter. So that went a little rough for me. But, after he shuffles up, I cut the deck, and I end up doing the Porsche play. And this is where I messed up. I should have did Porsche over the Ichiji, but you'll see that that's not what I do. So I swing 5 with the reiju. I believe he takes the life, because this is again the first swing into that life. No, he counters for 1 with the Gadatsu. 5 with leader to life. Counters out again. Thinking about it. Contemplating real hard on whether to counter it or not. Ask how many cards I have. I only had 6 at the time. So he counters out for 1 with the Shirahoshi. Here, swing 7 with the Ichiji. And here he has to take the life. Debating if he wants to use the trigger or not. But yeah, so I end up doing Porsche. That's why I have the 3 Don left. I should have played Porsche over the Ichiji. That's where I mess up. So he chose not to trigger the life and just trash the 200,000 volts. So I draw off the leader. I look at the top 5. I whiff, and there was another Ichiji that I was looking for. I should have did the stage. But here, this is where I messed up. I should have put the Ichiji over the big Ichiji. Instead, I put it over Reiju. And I have no other target in trash for that Ichiji. Don minus, nothing. This was such a feel bad moment. And I tried to take it back. It was my buddy, but he was like, nope, you put that shit right back on. Which was fair. But yeah, big mistake. I should have looked at the trash, but I already knew there was nothing there. The 4 cost Ichiji had to go above the 7. And then I was going to Don minus and then bring the 7 back to the board, swing 7 at it. He would have more than likely gave me that Shirahoshi blocker that he had on board. But yeah, it would have put so much pressure on him. But yeah, that was a misplay. If I would have did the Germa search that turn, I would have found that Ichiji at the top of the deck. And then I could have did this play no problem. Only thing is I had a lot of 2K counter and I didn't want to lose it. So that's where it was a fuck up on my part. And then I get severely punished for it. So I passed the turn. He taps 9. Replaces, I believe that was a Shirahoshi for Yamato. Pops the Porsche. Heals another life. just doing Enel things. So he reads the Sanji to see what it does. It's just a blocker at this point for me. Ability is if I have more than at least 2 Don less than my opponent, I could play it out for the cost of 3 instead of 6. After that, it's just a blocker on the board. But he swings 6 at life. I counter out for 2. I'm checking to see how many Don I'm at, and next turn I will be at 8, I believe. He's only got 3 cards in hand. And he's debating if he's going to swing with his Yamato and Katakuri and his Frankie. Well, Frankie can only hit life at this point. It can't reach the Ichiji. His Katakuri could and his Yamato could. So if he swings 8 at the Ichiji, all I need is a 2k, and then the Yamato I would need 3k, which is basically dwindling my hand down to nothing at this point. He swings 8 at my life. I draw into Niji, which is not a terrible card to draw into since I could use that the next turn to bounce the Shirahoshi since I do have the Niji in the trash. But I end up taking all the life because at this point I know if I don't get it this next turn, it's pretty much game. I could have stalled it out with blocking with the Sanji, but I'm going to just utilize that Sanji to swing. So I untap everything. I draw my 2 Don. I'm actually at 7 Don instead of 8 like I thought I would have been. Don't know why I didn't untap the Niji. Or Ichiji. But I tapped 3 for the Niji. And and I make sure that I have one in trash prior to the Don minus so I don't make the same mistake I did the turn prior. But I play the Niji, and instead of popping the Shirahoshi, I just bounced it to hand. Since if I were to pop it, he would have gained a life. So I got 4 Don left. I have 5 swings, and he's got 2 life. This is not ideal at this point. I just swing 5 with the pudding. I think I'm considering on how exactly I want to swing. Oh, I swing 6. It would have been better just to swing 5. Yep, reevaluating it. So I swing 5 with the pudding. He's debating on if he wants to take it or not. He's looking at my trash to see what I have, to see if I have another Ichiji in the trash, which is exactly what I need to pull off another 7k swing, but he's pretty set by this point. I do have cards to draw into it, but I could play out that little Sanji, but again, it's not worth it. I could play the Sanji over the Ichiji just to get it in the trash for 1 and then Don minus off the Ichiji on the field and bring him back for a 7k swing. But he takes the swing with the pudding. He triggers looks like a Shirahoshi again. Draws 3 and he's in a trash 2. And this is perfect for him because now he can cycle out any of the bricks that he has in his hand if he has any. So he cycles out the 1k Shirahoshi, which now tells me that he drew into 2Ks. And he's thinking about what else he needs to chuck out of his hand. Ideally, at this point, anything can leave his hand because next turn it's pretty much donezo. So he chucked the Yamato, which now I know he's got a bunch of counters. So I finally find this Ichiji using stage, chucking the reiju. So now I know I can get another swing in. So I swing 5 with the little Ichiji that's on the field to see if he's going to counter or not. And we already know he just cycled 2 cards out that he didn't need, which was a no counter card and a 1k card. So he's in a pretty good position. He chucks out the Space Luffy. I Don minus. I play out the Ichiji from hand. At this point, I have 2 7 swings, a 6, and a 5. I could attach it down to the Sanji and swing for a 7 also. So I started off with swinging 7 with the Ichiji. He takes it, has no trigger, chucks a card, gains a life, and then chucks out. Looks like it was another Shirahoshi. So I swing 6 with the Sanji. This is an easy counter out for just a 2K. And he ends up just taking it. So ideally, I think by this point he had like 4 cards in hand. I swung 7 with the Ichiji. And then I'm going to swing 7 with the Reiju. He has enough counter to get out of it, so I end up losing in the finals match to my buddy Born Peanut. But yeah, that's game. If you guys like the content, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and comment down below what you guys like to see next. Catch you on the next one.